In my latest video, I have highlighted a real, unpublicized, or advertised cure for cancer and how it relates to the COVID vaccine that they have somehow manifested in record time using technology that they've been developing for at least 15 years. The cure for cancer, still listed as experimental, although it's been at least 30 years. The treatment for COVID, rushed and administered to the public in 9 months. I have also discussed the discrepancies in the propaganda that's purpose is to spread fear that herds the public into experimental vaccinations. I have exposed the sinister activities of the actors in this pandemic as it relates to children. The lack of morals or care of the benefactors in this pandemic is easy to see. When you process and digest the proof that has been presented that there is in fact no interest in any cure that threatens their revenue streams, exposing their shocking protocol that calls for the criminalization of healers. To get this insight, as well as information about just one of the tools that they intend to use to facilitate forced vaccines, click the link that appears in the cards in the upper right corner if you have not already viewed the video from recap to compulsory vaccines. This may be your last chance to watch the Plandemic movie, which I have relocated and linked in the description box below. The documentary has been deleted or censored numerous times. It is packed with personal accounts and revealing information about the way things have been done and some of the major players driven by wealth that are still in power today. Stay tuned to see what else they're saying, but many are not listening. If you submit to the shot, it's your own fault. I have a lot to say. On the screen, you will see a thumbnail for a video done by CNBC entitled Why Pfizer and Moderna Can't Be Sued for COVID Vaccine Side Effects. You would definitely want to watch their entire video. I'm serving as a jump-off point, providing the information that stood out to me, but there's always more knowledge or information to be had. This video gets right into it. The reporter, at 30 seconds in, begins to immediately talk about how drug makers are exempt from prosecution, penalty, lawsuit from the fallout that occurs from people that elect to get this vaccine. When listening to these reports, I always seem to notice that there are in between the line conversations or innuendos, something that has a greater meaning. In this report, at about 1 minute and 22 seconds in, the reporter keeps referring to the COVID vaccine as new technology or technology, and I found that quite interesting. The first part of this video centers around discussion about how the pharmaceutical companies are not liable for any of the fallout that occurs to the people that elect this experimental vaccine. And then at about 7 minutes and 38 seconds in, the reporter, and I paraphrase, says, no one to blame for damages caused by the vaccine. This was the segue into the reporter discussing how the government is not liable either. At about 8 minutes and 50 seconds in, she discusses how the FDA, which I'm assuming is the entity within the government that should be able to be sued for any fallout from the vaccine, has sovereign immunity, and she goes in to discuss the history of that and what that means. And I found this particularly disturbing. So right away you see that they've removed any liability from the pharmaceutical companies, and they have removed any liability from themselves. It's about the 9-minute mark that the conversation shifts to how employers are also exempt from any liability as a result from people getting the vaccine. But this is a little different. It's not the people that have elected to get the vaccine. It's the people that they have forced to get the vaccine. So in the beginning, at about 47 seconds in, there's a quick blurb about how employers can legally require their employees to be vaccinated. So during this point of the video, at 9 minutes and 21 seconds in, we find out at what point this is all legal and this can all start to happen. And it's after the emergency authorization goes to full approval, then employers can start to enforce their staff to be vaccinated. And the reporter talks about the only recourse in that type of situation where the employer has forced an employee to be vaccinated as a condition of employment, that the individual would then have to pursue it through workers' compensation. And if anyone has done anything through workers' compensation, it's an unfortunate hassle to be injured, or in this case required to do something that you were against anyway to keep your job and your livelihood, and then to be tossed to the dogs, to be nipped and bit at while you're in pain and you're suffering. Because with workers' compensation, they require you to complete paperwork. They require your doctor's office to complete paperwork, which a lot of times they charge you for. They require you to constantly be at the doctor's office to generate more paperwork so that they can review your case. They constantly question your disability. They constantly question your ability to work. They're constantly trying to set up time frames for you to return back to work. There may be caps, maximum amounts that are paid out through workers' compensation. Does anyone see how twisted this is? A quick review of the culpable parties from the fallout of this vaccine. It's not the pharmaceutical company. They're not liable. It's not your employer. They're not liable. It's not even the federal government that creates the laws that enforce these type of things, that hand out exemptions. They're not liable. It's the very people that are vaccinated, the people that opt into this experimental treatment, and the people that are systematically forced to be vaccinated. They're the blame for the fallout and have to suffer the consequences. So in this video, we get a little glimpse into the whole scandal of the pandemic and how the operators and the benefactors of this pandemic, how they move and how they think. It's at the 11-minute mark that we find the only possible financial recourse or compensation that someone could receive from any harm done from this vaccine, whether it be elected or forced, is through the Countermeasure Injury Compensation Program. Now, I actually did research on this program way before this video ever came across my lap, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Taking a closer look at this slide, all of this information may not be in the video, although you still want to watch the video. It's relatively short, and there is definitely information in there that I have not highlighted. But for the sake of moving forward, I believe that there was a mention of a 12-month filing period. So people that have been vaccinated, whether voluntary or involuntarily, they only have 12 months to file a claim. And if anyone thinks about how pharmaceuticals are set up or how they're designed to work or what's the objective for pharmaceuticals, is never to cure. And I've already talked about in a video that this vaccine is not to cure or not to prevent corona. It's to mask or to cover up the symptoms. So with pharmaceuticals, traditionally, that's what they do. They are formulated to cover up the symptoms for a period of time, and then there's a buildup and most often consequences from taking pharmaceuticals and not treating the underlying condition. But these people only have 12 months, in spite of the fact that this vaccine has never been administered to people before. And also, this program has only paid out 29 claims. I'm going to talk more about that when I get into the information that I found. Someone that is harmed and actually gets approval, 29 claims, only gets a payout of up to $50,000 per year. Adults know up to $50,000 or up to any amount, you're not getting that whole amount. It compensates for lost wages and medical expenses paid. So I'm guessing if you have outstanding medical bills, you have to figure out how you're going to pay them before this program is going to reimburse you for those. There's a cap on it, $370,376. It does not cover legal fees, and it does not pay out for pain and suffering. I'm telling you all, I do not labor to find this information. It literally just falls in my lap. In general, I pray and ask God for direction, and situations like this article that I came across when I was looking up information about the mRNA vaccine and the variant, and this video came weeks ago, and the information was just confirmation. This article, as well as the main information source for the content in this video, is linked in the description box below, as always. The article is done by Ken Tucker, USA Today, found online. It says government program tap to pay for COVID-19 vaccine injuries rarely sides with the consumer. I'm just going to highlight a few clippings that I've gathered from the article as it pertains to this video that I'm doing. But we see right here that the countermeasure program was authorized by the 2005 Federal Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act to deal with threats of pandemic and bioterrorism. After reading and processing the information that was presented in this article and then rereading this clip, it's an example that shows how the major benefactors in this agenda have a tendency to have actions that save face but show little care for the people. Remember the 29 claims referenced in the video? Well, from this clipping, we see that since 2010, this countermeasure program has rejected 450 of the 499 claims it has been tasked to decide on. So initially, without all the information, but hearing that the government came up with this countermeasures program, one would think that the government was taking actions that were in the best interest of the people. Then you find out that the countermeasure program does not pay for pain, suffering, or even rehabilitation. The last I checked, rehabilitation was a medical expense. Remember the up to $50,000 per year payout? Well, we find from reliable sources that they only partially pay for lost income. This clip confirms some of the information that was revealed in the video, that there's only 1 year to file a claim once a person is vaccinated. This program does not pay for attorney fees, and the article goes a step further to state that there are no hearings. This means that once a claim is denied, the decision is final. I urge everyone to get their knowledge by reading this complete article. It's very informative and goes into depth about the decision to choose this particular program by the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and that agency should sound familiar to those that watched the unavoidably unsafe video that I did. But the article compares the decision to use this countermeasures program in relationships to other programs that are available that have a better payout history and compensate the injured parties for more of their expenses. I believe in forgiveness and sometimes second chances, but the major actors in this agenda are unapologetic in their actions. So it's intelligent for us to observe how they've acted in past situations, like for example regarding their hiding in efforts to stop the cure for cancer. These events provide insight into how they're operating today. I am not going to go into detail regarding the information provided in this clipping in an effort to shorten the length of this video. I again urge everyone to read the complete article to get the entire story. But I will say that there is indication that the decision makers are aware of the stingy, strict, cold-hearted format in which the countermeasures program operates under, and intentionally opt to use this program when they have little intention to provide compensation. Until next time, thanks for watching.